Hello, everybody. I'm Dr. Thunder. Let me get this down a little bit here. I'm Dr. Thunder, and this is Two Dads React. That's my collaboration with Tony from God Rules. And Tony and I grew up together, been best friends since fifth grade. And we're both dads, and we're both looking at how world events potentially will impact family life. And we have a Christian worldview, and we're sort of viewing world events through that lens. And there's a lot of stuff going on in the world that seems to align with biblical prophecy about the end times. Okay? There's a lot of stuff that's going on in the world. And so we need you to get your tinfoil hat out. I just took mine off right before the stream. So did Tony. He took his off just before the stream. We wear it between streams, and just to make sure that we're, tuning in, the right things. And anyhow, we are here and ready. Today's topic is the apocalypse upon us. Is it upon us? Is the apocalypse upon us? Let's go. Warning: some viewers may find the following video disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised. Like, share, comment, subscribe, become a channel member where you'll get access to all archived videos. Support independent media. Super chats enabled. Super thanks for the replay gang. Cash App, Venmo, PayPal, Dr. Thunder Music, all one word. Spell out the word doctor. And if you'd like to feed me sandwiches, go ahead and hit the Cash App Sandwich Gang. And without further ado, two dads react. What's happening, man?
Just waiting for the apocalypse, man. How about you?
That's right. Yeah, I saw that. I see that you removed your tinfoil hat.
Yeah, I took it out.
You took it off. Okay.
Yeah.
I have mine right here under the. I have mine right here under the table here.
Okay. Yeah. For safekeeping.
That's right, for safekeeping. Because I don't know. I might need to put it on sometime, like during the show. Nah, probably won't be during the show. So. Okay. All right. You're gonna have to take it away today. So let's see here.
I got some good stuff. I got a lot of good stuff, man.
All right.
We have
let's go.
Our favorite robot, Mark here, Zucker robot. He's preparing for the apocalypse. And of course, what's interesting is he's always the first one to give it away, folks. He's the one that told us about the camera on your laptop. You remember, he didn't tell us. He just put tape over his camera on his laptop. And people are like, why does he have tape over his laptop? And then, of course, lo and behold, a little bit later, we all found out, well, you can access your camera on your laptop. So, of course, he's the one that always gives it away. He went on Joe Rogan and gave away some stuff. I mean, he's given away so many things, and it seems like it's always on accident. In this case, he's building a bunker, and he actually has a double bunker. It's like a bunker, and then he has like another bunker underneath it just in case that bunker's not enough, which makes me think he's really scared of something. I don't know. And he's, like I said, he's my favorite of all the billionaires for giving away good information, folks, without even trying. So I think there is something to this. We have actually tons of billionaires doing this right now. We even have famous people. We got Post Malone, Kanye West, what is that, Ronda Rousey? I think she's a UFC fighter, all building themselves underground, facilities or bunkers, whatever you want to call it. And of course, Kanye West has had some interesting things in the news of recent as well. But so even they are building them. And what's interesting is they never build them for us. There's other countries that have built them for their entire population practically. And I can name a few countries. Okay, I think it's Russia does it. I think there's a few in the north and in Europe. I think the Netherlands. They've built it for their own people. But for some reason, they've only built it for those that run the GOV here in America. They have like a 50,000 strong one in America. Not for you and I, though. Not for you and I. Of course, we get to ride it out up on the top of the surface for whatever's going to happen. They got it all ready for themselves, though. Not as if those who run, of course, America really are thinking about you and I so much. I'm sure you've kind of noticed that with how things have been going the last few years. Inflation and everything else, and just every other day a new war. Apparently, we're going to be going into Yemen next because of the Red Sea. They have some issues with trying to get shipping through the Red Sea, and for some reason, they decided they're going to start a war in Yemen now. So we're starting wars in Yemen. We're like everywhere doing it, folks. Almost like we're the ones starting it. I don't know. What do you think, Sean?
Oh, man. Man, I've been saying, man, you know what I've been saying. I've been the one saying we're going straight to the end, send the asteroid. We know it's over. It's not going to get any better.
Wormwood, right?
That's Wormwood. Yeah, I've been the one saying that second coming of Christ. The great, what is it? The great throne judgment.
Yeah, I think we need some of that soon here. The judgment part might need a little bit of that. I don't know. We got a few bad apples at the top. It looks like a few of them, just a few. Honestly, I think they're probably. I don't know. I'm thinking they're probably the worst we've had, or maybe we just didn't know what the ones before were doing, and now we're just learning with the recent ones, but I've heard so many crazy things at this point. I roll my eyes when I hear stuff now. I don't even. I mean, like, yeah, okay, like they have them in the dungeon. Okay, I don't. Oh, wow, what a shocker. You know what I mean? I'm not. I'm just
Right,
kind of
right.
joking there, but
Right. Tell me something shocking. Tell me something that's actually a big deal.
like we've heard it all now. At this point, we've pretty much heard everything. So it's like you don't even know what's true anymore, right? That's kind of how it
No.
is. But apparently, lots of billionaires prepping for the apocalypse. They believe in it, though they tell you not to believe in it, folks. They tell you in the movies, oh, it's just a pale blue dot. We evolved millions and millions of years ago. And of course, there is no God. But then, of course, they're preparing for the apocalypse while they don't believe in God. Makes total sense, right? And
No.
putting out movies like Leave the World Behind, which, of course, apparently, that was one of our former pres that put that out as well, or he helped with the script for it. And now they got another one called Civil War coming out early next year, just so you can watch on the screen what's happening in real life, or at least what they want, or I don't know what it is, but hopefully I don't want this to happen. I don't know about you, Sean. I'm sure this doesn't sound very good. Uh,
No, that doesn't sound good. Yeah,
it's
this
like,
sounds pretty bad, actually.
well, I mean, it's perfect timing too, because we have something coming up in 2024, a
That's right.
new presidential
That's
thing
right.
going on, and of course they want to rev you all up, folks. Get the dumpster fire burning. Get the dumpster fire burning early. To
Yeah.
let Hollywood light the match here, right? So I don't know. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on in this realm. I mean, this is like a scene from the movie. They're basically talking about there being a separation in America, two sides. I honestly don't see it happening, but you know what? It seems like they're expecting something. And there's so many people. I mean, we also have the fact that we can't even afford anything anymore. 50 million American households can't even afford basic living expenses. So I think there's going to be a huge thing going on with the economy in the aspect of people are going to just stop paying bills because right now people are making less money than they did or than their bills. So
Yep.
eventually they're going to run out of money in the bank and they're going to just stop paying bills. I think that's happening next
Mm.
year. I think you're going to see some mass like mortgage strikes, rent strikes, like tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people. And this could lead to the banks going down. Maybe this is what these billionaires are all thinking. They're thinking the whole thing's going to come apart next year. And maybe that's why they're doing it. But what you thinking, man?
Yeah, it's over. We're done. But I will say, I'll say and there's a lot of other stuff. Let me say something real quick. There's a super chat. Andre416 for form. Thank you for the super chat. And it says 4 minutes behind, but God rules, haven't you learned from Snowden? There's good reason for covering your camera.
Yeah. Yeah, man.
That's right. And then folks, like the video. Got 64 people in here. Only 19 likes. Please like the video. Liking the video is the single most important thing. Please like the video. Like, share, and support the show. Thank you very much. Something. So in combination with all of this other stuff that's going on, the economy going to crap. Got an election coming up. You have this pendulum swing, and they're touting this like it was a surprise, but they have been pushing hard for this the whole time, and they're still pushing even though they've more than accomplished what they claimed their objective was, which was equality, right? But we know that these empowerment movements are not about equality; they're about supremacy. So, what was it in the 70s? You had 13% fewer women getting undergraduate degrees than men. Now it is 15% more. So that's a 28% sweep from the 70s to now. Now, of course, academics and things, they act like they're they're so super surprised and this happened in a short period of time and like this. No, they've been pushing hard. They've been gunning for this. They've been calling men, toxic masculinity. They've been doubling down, tripling down on the patriarchy and all this kind of stuff. They've been doing this the whole time. They continue to do it, and it has caused men to basically decide that they don't need to go to college. And a lot of men are actually not just not going to college, but they're pulling back from doing what it was that they were doing prior. The thing that would cripple United States more than anything else overnight would be if the blue collar men, if the men that are running the electric grid, the men that are out on oil rigs, the men that are lumberjacks and ditch hole diggers and that are running the critical services, if they just decided that it's not worth sacrificing my health, the guys that got black lung in the coal mines, all of that. If those guys say, you know what, this is not worth it. I'm not getting any. There's no payout for this. I don't get. I don't get the kind of woman that I would like. I can't develop a family. I can't build a family. I think I'm in a good situation with the woman, and then she can blow the marriage up for no reason, take half of my money, take the kids, alienate me from my kids, take the house. I'm living in a shack, and then tell the judge that because I can't afford a house that has an extra bedroom with the stuff for the kids, now the kids can't stay overnight with me. All of this kind of stuff. Dudes are getting to the point where like this stuff is just like totally ridiculous. So it's not just on this sort of global front and a lot of these big flashy things that we tend to talk about.
Yeah.
It's
True.
also just on the basic. Human beings can't even couple on a basic level. We can't even do the basic stuff now.
That's a war too.
This
That's
stuff
the
is
war.
jacked.
No. That's part of it too, man. That's like the deck is stacked. They do it on purpose. Like I was saying about the wonderful bad apples at the top and how they run everything. I feel like they're actually, who are their enemies? I think it's us. Like literally, I mean, honestly, like I was saying, if you look at these other countries, they have underground facilities for their own people. Okay,
Yeah.
you got like the Netherlands, they got their own underground facility for all their people just in case something happens. Here they don't. They got nothing for you and I. They got it for themselves. I told you guys earlier in the broadcast, the GOV has like 50,000 strong one for themselves. Them, not you. Them. They're not
Yeah.
thinking about you and I. Okay. And then I think that also they see the family as the enemy. I really do. And this is why they stack the deck against men, because they know that men are where the strength is. That's why when you have war in other countries, they go and kill all the men and then just leave the women, because they
That's right.
know if the men are gone, then the family's gone and everything's gone. So it's a war. They are hoping you're too dumb to see it. Okay, they're hoping you're too dumb to see what's going on. They don't want you to get married. So they make it very difficult. They give you not exactly the cream of crop women and not exactly the cream of crop men in as well, I guess you would say. But they make it so it's very unappetizing to get married, very difficult to afford. And this is what also with them printing the money in the background, what they did in 2020, they doubled the money supply, doubled. We didn't get no $100,000 checks in the mail. Where did all that double money go? They literally, all the money that was in circulation, they literally doubled it. And then they sent us a few thousand in the mail. Where'd the other hundreds of thousands, millions, and they didn't come to us and give us the money. So they gave it to their friends. And that's why you're seeing inflation. You're literally paying for them. You're paying for these rich people right now in inflation. They're thinking you're too dumb to figure this out. So all this stuff is all against, and so you don't see this in other countries. Like if you go over to some of these other countries, they don't have really bad inflation. Like Japan, you can still get a dollar soda there, believe it or not. You can still buy stuff for cheap. It's kind of shocking, but they actually are not going against their own people. And this is what people don't understand. And I think the whole system's set up that way as well. I got the left and the right, and I don't think either side's on your side, man. they're both going the same direction. One's just pretending like I'm trying to stop it, but they're not stopping it. They're all going the same direction, you know?
Yeah,
So, I mean,
it's funny. It's funny. The left and the right are also against what's referred to as red pill, or
yeah.
manosphere, or um, black pill, MGTOW. The left and the right are against those, and that that tells you all you need to know, because those movements are nothing but a response to what's going on. So the government monkeyed around through all of this, empowerment propaganda. They just kept pushing and pushing on this, and it totally destabilized everything and totally screwed everything up, screwed the family up. They got behind agendas and things that are not family, that do not prioritize family. They do all of this stuff, and then dudes are like, look, you know this is a bad deal. Why should I sacrifice myself? Why should I be willing to die? Why should I look? If you
this
look
is
at the
what I was showing before.
statistics,
This is literally tied into what you were saying, man. They
yeah,
literally brought the empowerment thing in exactly when they took the dollar off the gold standard. It was a scheme. We talk about Ponzi schemes, right? And how they're
yeah,
bad. This was like a government one.
mm-hmm.
This is a government one. Okay. They literally took the dollar off the gold standard, and then they started having all these commercials for women getting in the workforce. They had Dolly Parton singing "Working 9 to 5." They did it at the exact same time. The reason why is because they had to have two people in the home working so that one of them's paying for their bills. So that's what it was all about. You took the dollar off the gold standard, and then they started printing money in the background and giving it to their friends and themselves. And that was them stealing your money while you're working. You got two people in the home working. So that's why before you could have one person in the home working and it was fine. And now you can't. Now you can't even do it with two people in the home. You see what I mean? So it's a scheme. So
Yeah,
the
you got to
people
have
in charge
yeah,
are
these
doing this.
days you got to have like 5 or 6 incomes, dude. You got to
Yeah,
have
like
each
you got
person
like two
has a
full
full
time.
time. That's right. Each person has a full time
You got to be
job.
like a Jamaican man, like work 5 jobs and stuff, right?
Yeah, and then each person has a part time job, and then you have the side hustle, and then you have your residual income. From whatever. So, dude. This stuff is it's totally crap. 279 Canadian from Andre 416 Reformed. Thank you very much. Saying the majority of it went to the corporations. Yeah, the tightening their cronies up. See, I resist using the term
And the
capitalism.
banks, and the banks too, by the way. They hold a lot of it in like
Right.
in a way to where it doesn't affect the economy so much. But yeah,
Mhm.
it's both. It's the corporations and the banks too.
Yeah, I try to avoid using capitalism as a term. Sometimes we're stuck with that, but it's a pejorative. It's a term that Karl Marx actually coined, and obviously he was anti-capitalism, and so he was talking about it in this pejorative sense. And I tend to use free market, um, or the free market. I try to talk about it that way. Now, but the thing is that people don't really dislike the free market or what's referred to as capitalism as a pure capitalism, pure free market. What they don't like is crony capitalism. That's the thing that people don't like, crony capitalism. And
Oh
unfortunately,
yeah.
that's what we have. That's what we
Yeah.
have is crony capitalism. So, for instance, when they were, convincing everyone that everybody needed to be in the workplace, and they were printing money in the background for their cronies. Yeah, those are the cronies we're talking about. There's your crony capitalism, and that has never ended.
All right. So there's also a lot of other really interesting stuff we could talk about. There's a lot of this. Of course, this movie came out. We all talked about it already. And actually, they got another one coming out next year, too. We had Leave the World Behind, of course. And now they have this new
Yep.
one called Civil War coming up next year. And the thing about it is, like, as soon as that one movie came out, you had all these power outages, like left and right, like every day, 5 hours. These are from 3 days ago, 2 days ago. But there was like a ton. I don't know if this is. I noticed this too. They keep doing this. I think they're trying to throw it off. Like what they do is now they used to do it like by hours. Like the hour ones were all at the top. Now they're like jumbling it up and putting like 3 days, 2 days, 5 days, 1 hour ago. And they're like, you have to go to page 3 to see the ones from 1 hour ago. It's almost like
Yeah.
they don't want you to see all the latest ones. Cause like if you look at all the latest ones, it's like every hour there's like new ones. See, this is page 2 and they're showing you 2 hours ago, 11 hours ago, 10 minutes ago. You see how they do that? And
Yeah.
they stopped doing it the other way. I've noticed when they started doing things like this on Google and other search engines is they'll try to mess with things and try to manipulate kind of like I don't know what it is, man. Like I've talked about stuff and then shown it on Google and then like a week or a month later it's gone and I'm like is it cuz they saw my video? I don't know what's going on here. But like or maybe I'm just, maybe it's my tinfoil hat got on there, and I was like just
Yeah,
thinking
yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
Probably.
Maybe you should start leaving it on during the broadcast. And stop taking it off before the broadcast.
It could be just coincidental, I guess. I don't know. Who knows? But
real quick,
there's
let
people.
me
Go
acknowledge
ahead.
the super chat. Leon 8 with the $2 saying socialism is capitalism for rich people, free market. Yeah. All right, thank you for that. And
There is actually some good news, though. Believe it or not, it's
okay.
kind of shocking to hear that. But and I could go into the good news first if you want, or some of the other ones. But there's actually been some really weird stuff happening over the last couple of years. Like there was this prophecy here, or this isn't even a prophecy. What this is you've heard of the Qumran find, right? The Dead Sea Scrolls.
Yeah.
This is a new scroll they found in the same caves 2 years ago. And they found the scroll of Zechariah next to a woman in a basket in the exact same proximity. What's really strange about it is there's a story in Zechariah about a woman in a basket. Okay, so what's really weird about the story is it's talking about essentially there's a woman sitting in the midst of an Ipha. Now it says that this is sin. If you look into it, it's actually saying that what it's referring to is that God is going to start doing things differently and is going to start making, when people start doing all this corrupt stuff, he's going to make them pay for it. So before this, he's just letting it kind of go on for a while. But it actually, if this is what it's saying, because this is an interesting archaeological find, it has a weird message to it because you have the scroll and then you have these two objects next to the scroll, and these two objects are in the scrolls, in the text itself, and it's talking about iniquity. And it's saying that all the iniquity in the earth is going to start being judged. So I thought that was really interesting. And that was like 2 years ago that came out. And we are starting to see things come out. Like tomorrow, there's supposed to be a huge list of names that come out of people that were on a certain, of course, island. So I thought that was really
folks are saying that they're going to leave the country if that list comes out.
Actually, there's people already saying it. Yeah, there's a couple of famous people that I don't remember who. I can't remember who it was offhand, but there was
wait
a
a minute.
couple.
One of them was. Oh goodness, I can't remember who they are now. I can see their faces, but I can't.
I'm sure it's a lot of famous people. I'm sure it's
Yeah.
a lot of famous people. And you know what's really weird? Those at the top, they allow this stuff to come out eventually. They just don't like you telling it early on. So, like I've noticed, what they do is they won't let you talk about certain things at the time it's happening, but like a year or two later, they'll let you talk about it, right?
Right.
Just like with the whole thing, they wouldn't let you talk about it at the time, but then a year later, oh yeah, sure, go ahead, talk about it now. We don't care, because at that point the interest is already down. People are already beyond the topic. You know what I mean? So I just thought that was an interesting archaeological find. Then you also had something with the Rev 12 sign. I've talked about that recently. And I also talked about something that happened a few days ago where a star was eclipsed by an asteroid. And the star was the hand of Orion, or the power of Orion. It was this star here. It's called Betelgeuse. I didn't know that's how you pronounce it, though. I was calling it Betelgeuse. I didn't know how to pronounce it. I mean, it doesn't look like Beetlejuice. I mean, it doesn't look like Beetlejuice, but apparently that's how you pronounce the star. So the star was eclipsed. Now, what's really weird about the star, if you look at it, it's a different color than most stars. It's a very strange color. I think it's on this page here. Yeah, here we are. You can see here, this is actually the star, this yellow star. You see how it doesn't look like all the other stars in the sky? It's very strange looking.
Yeah.
And that was the one that got eclipsed by an asteroid. And this is the second asteroid thing that's happened this year. I'll show you the other one in a minute. But what's really strange about this, now Orion is tied to Gilgamesh. Gilgamesh is Nimrod. You remember the Tower of Babel, all that stuff?
Yeah. Yeah.
So Orion was a man that became a god. Okay, so the idea is what I think is being said, and this is actually a movie called The Eternals, Marvel's Eternals movie. And you'll see it's the exact same arm, and his power's in his arm. And guess what this guy's name is, this character in this movie? Gilgamesh. So you see the power's in his arm. It's the exact same arm. And of course, movies tell you things. So this got eclipsed. So the power of Gilgamesh just got eclipsed in the stars. And what this could mean is that those in power that have been doing all this not good stuff, their power is going to get eclipsed. And we're already seeing it. And a lot of people don't realize it, but the East is separated from the West. You're seeing the East grow. The West is shrinking, and the West is getting desperate. And that's why you got all these WARs going on everywhere, is they're trying to get back their power. They're actually trying to unseat the Prez, or the leader of Russia right now. And that's what this whole thing is about over there, Crane. Okay. It's not about winning. They actually just want it to go forever, just to wear him out and wear out the people so the people get rid of him as a leader. So that's what they're hoping to put their own person in there. These guys at the top, the faceless ones, they want to put their own person to replace them, so then they can control that person and get them back on board with the whole agenda. You see what I mean?
Right.
But I think what's going to happen is they're going to lose their power, because I think the star is actually telling us that they're going to lose their power, that the devil was trying to keep this power over the world. And he's trying to make a one, world, of course, order. I'm going to say it that way so that the closed caption, But that's
NWO.
the wrestling team, man. The wrestling team, of course. Yeah, Hulk Hogan, right? Who is Gilgamesh? Now, of course, they claim that this guy is the most powerful of all the Marvel characters, too. Gilgamesh is supposedly as powerful as Thanos. They both have their power in their arm. But the star got eclipsed. And what's interesting is that's not the only eclipse, or that's not the only asteroid that did something recently. A few months ago, there was an asteroid that went directly through the Rev 12 sign, right through, as if it was being delivered from the woman. The woman's supposed to be pregnant, and she delivers. And it was in September of this year. So the original Rev 12 sign was 2,000 years ago when Jesus was born. And then 2017, there was one. And then recently, there was an update, and almost the exact same date in 2023, where an asteroid went through as if it was being delivered. And of course, what they called the asteroid is really interesting name. It's called 6,000 United, Nations. I thought that was interesting. That shows you that these people at the top watch these stars, because they purposely named this asteroid this, because they want to birth the United, of course, Nations, the full, world, of course, order, the NWO Hulk Hogan thing, right? So they're trying to birth it. So they watch these stars. I'm showing you what they watch. But look, what I'm telling you is they thought that they had the power. They said, oh, we named the star, so we got power. We can do whatever we want. Who says that they get to control what that star really means, or that asteroid? It's not their power. They can name it whatever they want. That doesn't mean that's going to be what happens. But I think in reality, I think God showed that actually they're being eclipsed because an asteroid eclipsed this star. That's the power of Gilgamesh. And the way they wrote these articles is like they were puzzled about it. Watching an asteroid eclipse the puzzling red giant, like they weren't expecting this or something. So I think this is just my theory. I could be wrong, but this is just kind of what I see in this. And I kind of feel like it's going to happen. A lot of people just assume it's the end, and we got Mark Zuckerberg with his bunkers and stuff. But there could be a silver lining to this. Maybe something good will come out of this. Maybe it won't be as bad as it seems. Or was Mark Zuckerberg? Yeah. The robot, of course, got his own apocalypse bunker. So they're expecting something in 2024. Whether or not it happens, we'll see. I think there's going to be some crazy stuff happening in 2024. Don't get me wrong. But will it be literally, world WAR number 3? I hope not, because if it is, we're not going to be doing any more podcasts probably. Right.
Yeah.
I hope that's not the case.
Yeah, me too.
You got some
I
videos,
do.
man?
I don't have any videos to show, but I
Oh,
have
you don't
something I
even-
want to
okay.
discuss
Oh yeah, you got
that I've been
you got
thinking about.
the mark,
Mm,
right?
yeah. I've got this other way to think about this. But first, before we get there, 78 people watching, only 34 likes. Please like the video. Like the video. Like the video. Share the video and support the
Yeah,
show.
man.
Like the
It'll go a lot
video.
farther.
Please
It
like
will
the
go a lot
video.
farther. Yeah, it will
So,
definitely help.
oh, it definitely helps. So, this is what I've been thinking about. We've got a lot of we got a lot of stuff happening. Okay, we've got all this stuff, and it's nothing is in a vacuum. Everything is intermingling and impacting everything else. Okay, um, you have so one of the primary issues, one of the things that human beings have to be able to do, and this is the cornerstone of civilization, is you have to be able to couple. Okay, you have to be able to partner up, you have to be able to get married, and the first mandate that God gives mankind is to be fruitful and multiply. This is the primary mandate. This is the most important thing. Be fruitful and multiply. Okay?
Not to get a change of down there, cut something off, none of that stuff.
No, none of that.
None of that stuff. Oh, okay, the
Anything,
exact opposite of what they tell us today. Okay, gotcha.
so that anything that pushes against being fruitful and multiply. So any agendas, any policies, any empowerment propaganda, anything that mixes up and attempts to mess up that basic mandate of be fruitful and multiply is evil, wrong, bad, going to be devastating for human beings. Okay? Now, unfortunately, governments, systems, and certain parties in particular, but both parties now have been pressing for this all, girl power, all press, girl power. Everything is about empowerment, all of this kind of stuff. I have no issue with empowerment. What I have an issue with is supremacy. And unfortunately, the way that this looks is it does not look like simply empowerment. It looks like supremacy. Because if you look at the numbers for a long time, if you look at the numbers in education, for instance, 93% of the high school valedictorians and class presidents are female. This is not a new statistic. This is old
90.
information. Okay,
90. Wow.
93%. This is an
Dang.
old statistic. Okay, it might be a greater percentage than that now. All right, you have, in particular with black boys, you have a low reading comprehension rate, very low. We're talking about, reading at an 8th grade level. High school students reading at an 8th grade level. So we're talking very low comprehension. But boys in general are not being served by the education system. Okay? So the education system has gone full court, full press girl power, and has continued to press and push in talking about stuff like the so-called gender pay gap, which has been debunked over and over. Talking about these kind of topics and continuing to push these agendas that are against be fruitful and multiply. Okay? Now,
Oh yeah, because they want women working and they want guys to like question who they are and cut the thing off. It's just like what, like it's insane now, man. And you had a number you were gonna say. What was the number?
yeah. Well, I'm getting to it. I'm working up
Okay.
to it. So you have this thing, and this is a natural thing. It's called hypergamy. Now, hypergamy is just women desire men that are stable, that have the ability to provide, protect, and uh, men that are taller than them, men that are stronger than them, and men that can work longer hours and sustain more, uh, make more money, further along in their career. All of this, these are natural and normal desires. This is a function of evolutionary biology. It's hardwired. It's not something that you're going to just convince people not to want to do. All right. So because of this, and disproportionately stacking, and supporting women to get more degrees than men, and then have therefore access to more of these white collar and sort of prestigious jobs, what you're doing is you're saying, okay, women were propping you up to here, but those women, they're also hypergamous. What that means is that they want men that are above them. So men that even make more money than they make. So what you're going to end up with, and what you have ended up with, is that there's not enough men that are above these women that they continue to prop up higher and higher. Okay? Now, in the Bible, and this is Isaiah chapter 4, verses 1, it says, "And in that day 7 women shall take hold of one man, saying, We will eat our own bread and wear our own apparel." In other words, I'm strong, independent. I don't need you. I can live and survive myself. I have a good job. I have a car. I have all of the things, all of the trappings. I've got my own apartment. I can pay somebody to mow my lawn. So in other words, that only let us be called by your name to take away our reproach. Now, I used to think that this statistic, 7-1, was going to be due to some sort of catastrophic event that thinned out most of the men on the planet, and so that there were 7 women to 1 man. But now what I realize is that 80% of men are invisible to women. And it's becoming a higher and higher percentage, because as you have artificially propped women up, making them make more money, right? Making more money with higher degrees, more degrees than the men, there are fewer and fewer men that to go around for those women. And so then that makes up this 7-1 ratio. And the reason that the verse says, this is just my theory, the reason that the verse says, we will eat our own bread and wear our own apparel, that's specifically referring to, I don't need you. I'm strong and independent. I don't need your money. I make my own money. This is what this is referring to. Now, what I have begun to consider to be the mark of the beast. Now, what we have said, and what usually when people talk about the mark of the beast, they usually think about something like a barcode, like a tattoo, or like I don't know, like a something on the forehead, right? Like a scar or something, or we've thought of it,
chip up here or something, or in
that's right, or like an implant, a chip. Right. We've thought of it as being these kinds of things, but I'm starting to interpret the mark of the beast as being the thing that these women constantly say. Almost every woman says, even women that don't have these advanced degrees and prestigious jobs, they say they want a man that is 6 feet tall, 6-pack, 6 figures. Okay? They say they want the 6-pack, 6 figures, 6 feet tall. All right? I am starting to believe that there's connection between this out of balance, defying God by pressing against his primary and original mandate for mankind: be fruitful and multiply. All of these artificial impediments that we have put in place to stand in the middle, to stand in front of that basic mandate, that most important. It's our biological imperative, even to attempt to stand in the middle to thwart what God's plan for mankind is. When you hear these population control folks, Agenda 21, when you hear these population control folks talk, it's always hug the earth. It's prioritizing the earth and tree hugging over human beings. This idea that there are too many human beings.
They don't actually care about the earth. It's just it's like a, like their boogeyman or whatever they want to use. You know what I mean? It's fake.
Well, I think that the folks at the tippy top probably don't, maybe perhaps don't, but I do think that the people that are their boots on the ground, I think that they actually do care about the earth, and that's probably,
I'm sure
they're sort of manipulating people that actually have earnest concerns. About
they've proven that they don't care, though, because they've come out with some stuff like where they want to cut down trees to save the earth and darken the sun to save the earth, and then they want to reduce CO2 to save the earth. But when actually the NASA study showed that more CO2 actually makes it greener on Earth and cools the planet. So it's like everything they're doing is literally the opposite of saving the earth while they pretend like they're saving the earth. So I just think it's I've pointed that out on my channel. But what you were saying about women, 7 women to 1 man, I never even realized that these women were all self-sufficient. So that is very interesting. Also, another thing that a lot of people haven't realized is a lot of these women will automatically go for the 10 guy. They'll get into, the bed with them, but then they won't get anything out of it. Which is a better deal? Do that or get a marriage out of that guy? Obviously, getting a marriage is what they want, right? But they're all against polygyny. But then maybe they're not now because they're starting to get away from that. So maybe they'll actually realize, and this is what you're saying with Isaiah, is that like these 7 women will be like, I'll marry Tate, I'll just marry him, it's just, we'll all share him, because they don't want this top guy, right? They don't want every other guy, because they think, because they've been propped up with these high paychecks and being enabled all the way up to the top themselves, right? So I think it actually could happen like you're saying. But it actually, and it's social media that's causing this as well, because social media makes these women, they get all this, back results from men looking at them on whatever, Instagram. Oh, I got 100 guys in my DMs or whatever, right? So then they just think they're the top thing, but the guy just wants to do something with them, and that's it, in some cases.
And also it gives women access to all these blue checkmark dudes. So it gives them the illusion that they actually have access, that it's actually a possibility for them to get with this guy. And like you said, he just wants to smash. He doesn't want a wife.
Exactly. Like Tristan Tate or something. That dude, like, from what I understand, he's like, that's all he does, which I don't recommend. But I'm not saying he's a bad guy, because he says a lot of good things. But from what I've heard, that's all he does. He's like 5 girls a day or something. It's just ridiculous. So that's not, I mean, it would be better if he just married 5 women, instead of like going through, a Rolodeck of them. Because when he does that, it leaves none for you and I. Because like if he's going through 1,000 women, those 1,000 women could have married guys. Instead, he just runs through them and they're done, and you see what I mean? So
yeah, I mean, yeah, it's messed up. But the thing is that dudes that are on the top, they don't have to commit. And that's what this sets up. Also, what it sets up is a lot of misinformation, bogus information, a lot of lies about men in general. All men are dogs. All men are this and that. Well, you haven't actually interacted with the ones that you consider to be invisible, the 80%, 90% of guys that you won't even talk to. You're only talking about this small percentage of guys that don't have to commit. So yeah, they're dogs because you made them. You women created these guys, and now you're complaining about them.
I saw a microcosm of what we see today. Back when I was in college, there was four guys to one girl at my college because it's an engineering college, and it was very difficult to find a girl while you're there. I mean, and there was girls known for going through like the whole football team and stuff like that, and they didn't even look good. I mean, like it's like kind of like what the heck, you know what I mean? Like, and I'm serious. Like I'm talking like girls that wouldn't get with any guy, and then they can go through the whole football team. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so I saw that back there because there's so few women for the men. But now you're seeing it because of social media. It's like that everywhere now. It's like just the average girl can get supposedly the 10 or something, but actually he doesn't want her. He just wants to, you know, like you said,
Right.
smash or something, right? So
Right. Hulk smash.
right, exactly.
Right. That's all he wants to deal with. And but it's like I'm saying, it's and it's messed up. And I was talking about this in my show earlier today. You have some of these like dating gurus, these like Christian gurus, and their information is they're telling it's a bunch of bogus information. You have a lot of these guys demonizing people that are the red pill, claiming that the red pill, all these men, they're toxic, they're, and all this kind of stuff. And it's like, dude, they're just basically trying to roll with the punches. And not only that, but he specifically was talking about MGTOW. I did a video, and this is probably a couple years ago at this point. And the question that I was posing is, was Apostle Paul the first MGTOW? Men going their own way, right? Now, the obvious answer to that question is no. That's the obvious answer is no. But the question is deeper than just the surface.
Bro, there were some. I honestly though, you might be right about Paul, but there were some guys like Jerome that like literally said things like "women are the root of all evil," which is wrong. It's incorrect, but because it says right in the Bible, the love of money is the root of all evil. But I mean, some were very anti-women. They're like monks out in the desert, man. They were literally probably the first MGTOW dudes. I'm guessing. I don't know.
Well, right. Notwithstanding,
Those guys, monks in the desert, man.
Well, notwithstanding heretics, folks that were preaching stuff that was obviously heresy.
Yeah.
Paul was, I mean, he says that, he wished that you didn't marry. But hey, because, marriage is better than burning with, burning with sexual desire, basically, with lust, it's better to marry than that, right? So he was saying that and he was married prior, but I think his wife divorced him because he went Christian, and so he was like, married? "Oh, this is great."
I didn't even know he's married.
Yeah, maybe I think according to tradition, he was married prior, and yeah.
I was going to say Jerome is not a good guy, by the way. I think he's one of the worst guys in the past. But I mean, there's a lot of ups and downs, bad people, good people in the past. But yeah, I agree with you. I think it's basically our situation, and I think it has a lot to do with who's running our side of the world, the West. I don't think they're for us at all. Like they're all for themselves, and I think it's becoming more obvious by the day. And I think they're purposely trying to keep people from having children by basically promoting everything that's anti it. Everything that's anti it, they glorify. Sort of put a little microscope and then blow it up giant, like, oh, this is super important, like 2% of the population is super important, right? Like those that are not exactly, straight or something. Like, this is so important, we got to talk about this all day long, every day, and that's literally what Twitter is half the time. That's all people talk about over there. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's kind of crazy.
It's amazing that less than 5% of the population, and I'm trying to be a conservative with the estimation, and I'm talking about 5%, meaning the entire rainbow. 5% of the community of the population can control the narrative, the language, like that's like that's some gangster stuff, man. That's I mean that's like it's like incredible. I mean, you couldn't look. You could take a population that's like 30% of the population. You couldn't get that population to to lockstep to make everybody else do what they wanted. Pick any other community, you couldn't make it happen. But for some reason, this particular community, 5% of the community of the population or less, is able to dominate like the narrative, the what even
The church,
terminology.
the church
Yeah,
too,
even the
man.
church.
The church falls for all this stuff. Every year they got a new little thing they're pushing, and they just go lockstep with it. It's just kind of funny. But the church can't unite on its own. Like you got all these divisions in the church. They can't even unite to talk or any prayer or anything. But they can
Yep.
unite about, getting something in your arm or, whatever else, right? Or whatever the latest thing is. Some, trans stuff. Look at the Pope. Pope Francis just came out saying that you can bless now, uh, you know, rainbow, of course, marriages and stuff like that. So he just came out with that. Like that was a couple days ago. I did a video about it. And I'm like, you know, Pope Francis literally, I mean, if you actually went through everything he said, he's probably said about 100 major things that directly contradict Catholic doctrine. And I'm not even Catholic. And I'm just like, dude,
Right.
this guy is like the worst leader ever, probably for
Yeah.
the Catholic Church. Pretty much. So, I mean, if you could
Yeah.
imagine an Orthodox bishop doing that, he would be kicked out a long time ago, wouldn't he?
Oh yeah. Well, that would never happen. It would
He
never
would he would
happen.
be gone in like a heartbeat. But
Yeah,
because
it's
they
a
put
different.
him at, yeah,
Yeah, it's a different. It's a different construct, and it's actually still set up the way that protects the doctrine, because you can't have any new stuff without getting kicked out, basically. So the way that the patriarchates work is everybody has to be in agreement, and
patriarchs.
you're
Is that
not going
like
to get that.
patriarchy? Patriarchs, patriarchy, man. Come on, man. You know what's so retarded? They say that this is the patriarchy. It's like a shadow of the patriarchy. And then of course they paint the patriarchy as if it's some this really evil thing, but actually it actually helped out a lot. I mean, if you look in the Bible, there's actually female, empowerment in various places, even in the Bible, even in the Apocrypha, where like there's women that like, took out bad guys in various places, saved nations, but that's not good enough,
Yeah. Yeah, well,
right?
here's the thing. There's never been any need for female empowerment in the Bible, because females were never unempowered. They
Yeah,
were
that's my point.
always.
That's my point. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they were always, so in let me talk about the patriarchy for a minute. There's this view of the patriarchy as being this, oppressive force against women. Okay, this is the way that it's framed. But I think that that's hogwash. Okay, the patriarchy primarily is for the purpose of protecting women and children.
Yeah, man.
That's the
I agree.
primary purpose. The primary purpose of the patriarchy is to protect women and children.
It's
And
men
part
being
of
in
the
the
way
position of protecting them, right?
now partial evidence of this is the fact that whenever these patriarchal societies, whenever they go to war, who fights in the wars? It's men. Who die disproportionately? It's men. Who are doing all the dirty jobs? It's the men. Who die of black lung and stuff in coal mines? It's men. It's all men. So I would
Yeah.
argue that if anyone has been oppressed, it's been men more by the patriarchy, because the men has put men as the as those to run over roughshod. Men have been the ones that have been expendable.
I
Men
feel
have
like
been
this
the
girl
ones.
I feel like even the girl, power movement, I feel like that actually it takes women down. It takes men and women down both. I feel like it takes them both down because the women can't get what they're looking for either. They think they know what they want, but then they're not getting what they want, right? They want this 6 foot tall guy or whatever they're looking for because they've been put in a propped up in a high position, and now it's disproportionate, and they don't find a man they would really love, and of course they don't have kids in time. Maybe they're getting married too late. That happens as well now. So a lot of these women, they're like, age 40 when they finally get married. And like, that's not exactly a good time to start getting pregnant. You should be doing it before then.
Way before that. I
Yeah.
mean, look, the woman's menstrual cycle starts when they're 12 or 13. And I know that we don't, that's not what we do now. But we know that Mary was probably 13. She was probably 13 or 14, right? The Virgin Mary, she was like 13, 14. And we
What?
also know, and this is also, we're not supposed to talk about this either, Joseph was probably mid 40s.
I
He
don't
was
know what
probably
age she
mid 40s.
was, but she was a virgin anyway. So, right. So,
That's true. That's true. But what I'm saying is,
yeah, I don't know
Joseph
how old
was
she
mid
was. But,
40s.
yeah.
Look. I'm saying they got married.
He could
He
easily
was
have been
mid
older.
40s.
Yeah, he could easily be older. You're right. Because they
Well,
had a
and it's not
polygynous
just easily.
society too. They had a
Well,
polygynous society too as well.
well, that's that's true. That's
Right.
fine. But understand my point. My point is, first of all, um, according to tradition, Joseph was married prior, and his wife died.
Oh, really? I didn't
Okay,
know that.
and so he had kids. He had children from that marriage.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, because the Orthodox, they talk about a lot of the stories surrounding a lot of the characters in the Bible. They do. They
Right.
have yeah, which Protestants don't do. You don't, and Catholics don't do it as much either. I think the Orthodox know a lot more stories around surrounding people that in famous, saints and stuff like that. You guys know a lot of stuff like in that realm.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this particular tradition, Catholics and Orthodox would share in common, as far
But I
as
haven't
is.
heard many Catholics talk about stuff like this. It's usually the Orthodox that know a lot more. It seems like when I talk
Yeah.
to people. Yeah,
Well, I'm just saying this is also in common with what
yeah,
the
yeah, yeah, yeah.
catechism
Yeah, I know.
would teach.
Yeah.
So the Catholic catechism. But anyhow, my point is, uh, he was married prior, and we already know that it takes men longer to get their stuff together, and he wouldn't have been able to marry his first wife unless he had land. He would have had to have livestock. He would have to be able to take care of her, and he would have had to be able to pay the father a dowry. Right? He would
Right.
have
All right.
been so he has to work up to the place. So I would say he was probably in his 30s, maybe mid 30s by the time he married the first time.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense because,
So
and of course, they didn't have computers and all this technology back then. You couldn't just like get an HR job back in those days. So women didn't really have the opportunity to do like they do today, where you can just get this really. I mean, of course, on top of that, you have women being propped up over men because of our leadership. And this is of course because they don't like the family. It has nothing to do with men doing this or that. It has to do with basically they don't like the family structure. And this is what people don't understand. So like these women, like a lot of women think that they were empowered because men are bad or something, but actually, like I showed in that picture, if you show my screen again, this is the actual reason they did it right here. If you show the screen, Sean.
okay, sorry. Okay,
Yeah,
here we
yeah,
go.
show
I
my,
was reading one of the comments.
yeah.
Somebody was man, I can't get my where's my okay, I couldn't see my thing. There we go.
Okay, so this is the exact reason why they want that the government wanted women to get in the workforce so they could steal your money. Literally, this is the reason because they could steal your money because they had one man in the household working and it was fine. And then they took the dollar off the gold standard. And as soon as that happened, they started putting out commercials on TV for women getting in the workforce so they could have two people in the home working. So then they could steal the money through your printing press and steal the
Right.
money power from your wallet. And then so basically two people are working for one wage. So that's how it went from one person working in the home to two. So that this was a literal scheme. And of course, they know that women and men are like, they understand the dynamics of society, so they're actually manipulating society to get money from you. This is all it was about. It had nothing to do with them caring about women, wanting to help women. Nothing to do with it. All about money. In 2020, same thing. The closing everything down, all about money for them, not for you, so that you can pay for it in inflation. So that's what the whole thing was about. And then now also you can't afford to support a family now. You can't afford to get married. So it's all about destroying the family. So the whole point is the government. The term government means govern the mind, control the mind. So they like to control the people. And just like you see in the story with Egypt and Israel, or Abraham and his offspring, Egypt got super scared of Abraham because he had so many offspring, and he had this massive nation being grown out of nowhere really quickly. That's why the government doesn't like polygyny. That's why they made it all, like if you watch TV, there was always some cult leader with it was a polygynist. This is why it's so bad. Don't become polygynist. You'll be a cult leader, right? So it's always cult leaders that are polygynists. That's why that's how they keep people from being. It's mind control. So it's the government govern the mind. So the whole point was to keep families down so they could control you. That's the whole point. That's literally what they're doing while they make money, while they steal your money. So other countries, like in the East, they don't do this as badly. I mean, they still got there is a lot of bad countries, don't get me wrong. North Korea is a good example. But I mean, America is really not good. And a lot of the countries in the West are we have a lot of really bad apples right now that really don't care about you and I. And I'm telling you, there's countries in the East, they might look backwards to some people, but their leadership actually cares about their people more. So what I'm saying is all these things I've seen, it tells me they literally don't care at all. That's just my opinion though. I could be wrong, but I'm looking at the evidence. The evidence is they don't care. At least to me, that's what the evidence is. So at any rate, that's why I'm done with my soapbox rant there. But
yeah, I mean, let me digress a bit. We were talking about Apostle Paul, and I was saying that it was Paul the first MGTOW, and I was only saying that not because I believe that he was MGTOW. MGTOW is not about any spiritual reason for doing so. Obviously, Apostle Paul was doing it specifically to do the will of God, so that he had nothing to stand in the way of him being able to go for the gusto serving God. That was his thing. And he even goes in detail talking about if you have a family, you have to address the things of your family and like this, and you have other things that are constraining you. And but my point is that these Christian gurus, these Christian relationship gurus like Tony Gaskins are talking down on MGTOW dudes. And my thing is, he was characterizing anyone that basically is not trying to get married, is not trying to basically have kids and a family. He was characterizing them as being toxic for society. And so I'm like, dude, what about the entire monastic tradition? That's toxic for society.
Is he one of those ones that? Is he one of those ones that wants you to marry the girl with the 40-year-old lady with 4 kids that now is a virgin because she got saved? She got 4 kids from 4 different guys, of course,
Right. 6 different guys because 2 of her kids, guys. She's not sure between which 2 guys the kids are.
But now she's saved. So she's not going to do that anymore. And you can marry her and everything will be perfect. So is he one of those guys? Does he do that?
He is not that egregious, but his platform clearly is basically telling women what they want to hear. And he's
sort of Dr. Philish maybe.
Well, yeah, and Dr. Phil is kind of like that. This guy, I actually, in some ways,
he's gotten a little bit better, but he used to be worse. Yeah, he used to be really women, especially back in the old days. Dr. Phil.
You can tell who they're listening to.
Well, his crowd is probably mostly women that watch. Yeah, that's probably true.
But anyhow, so just to recap my thesis, and this is the 7-to-1 spoken of in Isaiah. And in that day, 7 women shall take hold of one man, saying, we will eat our own bread and we will wear our own apparel. Only let us be called by your name to take away our reproach. This again is, we have money, we have degrees, we have power. We don't need you for the purpose of supporting and taking care of us, but we still long to be with a guy that is 6 figures, 6 feet tall, six pack. You're that guy. We want you. We'll share you. We'll even share you.
They're already doing it. I mean, they already share the guy with just a vapor of a hope that they might be with them. And of course, someone like Tristan Tate's like, yeah, whatever, dude. I'll just, run through you and then I'm done with you, because I heard he has I've heard these stories. I don't know if it's true, but I heard some of the people that hang out with him, he'll have 5 different girls in the same day, dating them all. I don't know if he's doing things with them during that time, but I heard he has a lot of different girlfriends all the time. So I'm sure it'll be very rare for any of them to marry him. You know what I mean? But like you're saying though, what if it gets to a point where these guys like Tristan Tate say, hey, you know what? We need to just be getting married to women, and then he decides to marry 7 women, like you're saying. You know what I mean? So that could be very well what you're saying.
Yeah, and Tristan Tate is the least, I think, is the least of the concern in my mind, because at least Tristan Tate actually, when you hear him talk about certain dynamics, he's at least aware of the issues.
No, that's what I was saying earlier. Yeah, he knows a lot of stuff. Don't get me wrong. Yeah.
It's more like dudes that are basically blue pill dudes, so they don't actually know what's going on. But
Destiny. You know who I'm talking about, right? Destiny.
Of course.
Didn't he just lose his wife or something?
Yeah, she's divorcing him.
They were doing polyamory or something like that. She's sleeping with whoever.
Polyamory.
And then she finally decided to find a different guy than him with one of the people that she was doing stuff with. That doesn't work, man. Polyamory does not work. So,
well, so let's define some terms. Polygamy, that's when everybody can have other partners, so the women and the man. Polygyny is when the man has wives, but they're only committed to him. That's polygyny. Polyamory, basically, it's basically, when people talk about polyamory, it's supposed to be like an umbrella that encompasses different things, but really what it ends up being is one woman with a bunch of dudes.
Oh, okay, yeah. That's actually
basically what it ends up being.
There was a YouTube channel that had this girl with 4 guys, and they had this story, and it got millions of views. And then afterwards, they didn't even cover this, but afterwards, one of them, she got pregnant by one of the guys. They figured out which one it was, and one of the other guys in the home did something bad, from what I understand, to the offspring. So, not really shocking to me. I mean, especially when it's guys that are willing to do that anyways in the first place. It's just really kind of messed up.
Yeah, it's all messed up. But here we are. This is where we're at. The new mark of the beast, 6 figures, 6 feet tall, 6 pack.
I was going to say, actually, this is maybe not the mark, but you see ripples of these kind of things throughout society where, you'll see evil in a certain place and it seems to follow the same pattern. That could be what that is too. It could be not but it could be an instance of it or a manifestation of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. We're in trouble.
Well, it's going to have to be 7 figures soon here. It's going to be 7 figures soon here because of inflation, but 6 figures is going to be like nothing soon here once we got hyperinflation, right?
Yeah. Leon 008 saying this business keep it 100 serial monogamy, right? right? Serial monogamy. See, this is one thing I've said. So clearly, the Christian, the right from the beginning, clearly Christianity is monogamous. It clearly is monogamous. That's been the practice. That's what the church has said from the beginning. And
Well,
and
I would say this. There's if you look at the early guys, they say they were a lot of them were anti-polygamous, but then they would say bigamy and trigamy is okay, which is actually 2 or 3 wives. So they didn't even consider 2 or 3 wives polygamy. A lot of the early guys, like in 100, 100, 200 AD. That's what a lot of people don't understand. They don't realize that
no,
when they say
yeah,
polygyny, they didn't mean like 2 or 3. They meant 4 or 5, like that and stuff like that. But
yeah, I
just
really,
2 or 3 is okay. 2 or 3 is okay, man.
yeah, I recognize that to be the case. That there were other voices that were competing, but it's clear that the codification and the consensus was that monogamy was to be the way, and
Well, it's the
that's my
ideal.
point.
It's more ideal, yeah. I agree with you on that.
Yeah, well,
But
I
I
mean,
mean,
in
for
in
someone
the
like
church,
it's a 10, I don't have a problem with that guy marrying 7 women because then he won't be running through 1,000 women, right? So, and then those 1,000 women can marry the guys that didn't get any women. You know what I mean? So that's how I look at it.
I suppose I'm not sure exactly that it would work out that way, and I think part of the issue also with polygyny is what it does to the gene pool. So, for instance, if you look at the in particular, if you look at the black community, there's a high incidence in the black community of accidental incest. And the reason is because there's a small percentage of these pookies that are impregnating uh, the majority of the out of wedlock births. It's out of control. And so what happens is the women have these kids, they don't, and the kid doesn't know their father, and so then it's hard to track and figure out, and women are having multiple kids by multiple guys, and so it's hard to know, like, as far as the genealogy goes. And so often is happening is accidental incest, where half siblings are getting together because they don't realize that they're half siblings. So the guy has
Oh, I
he's had a
see
kid.
what you're saying. Okay, I
Yeah, so the
understand what you're
guy has had kids. The guy has had kids with two separate women. He's not around because he's a deadbeat.
saying.
So so
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. But if it was more formal, like if you had a really rigid structure to it and like you actually paid attention to what was going on, more so then that probably wouldn't happen. But I know what you mean though. I see what you're saying.
yeah, well, even if it didn't happen in an accidental fashion, if you look, so for instance, this is like a hyperbolic version of this. What is it? Who is it that a high percentage of Chinese are related to? Who's the
Oh,
guy?
not Genghis Khan, is it?
Yeah,
No,
yeah,
is
it's
it
Khan. That's right, Genghis
Genghis
Khan.
Khan?
So it's like 20%, 30% or something are like
There's like
related to him.
kings too. Like a lot of white people are related to a king or something. Not all, like in a certain area, like Irish or whatever. Yeah, that
Yeah,
happens
but
a
when
lot.
that happens, but my point is, when that happens, when you have multiple women having kids from the same guy, what that does is it reduces the options as far as um,
Gene pool?
maximizing the diversity when you uh, what am I saying? When you couple, right, and you have kids, the gene pool is
Oh,
closer
I know what
and
you're saying.
closer and
Right.
closer together because you have one guy that's had kids with all of these women
Well, a
as
lot of these
opposed to
kings like to do
multiple
that though.
guys.
A lot of these kings and pharaohs and leaders and Roman emperors like to do that because then they would retain the power in the family, um, which is kind of messed up. But I mean, that's what they would do. Yeah.
Right. So I'm just saying that the issue is, so this the two primary issues are what happens with the genes, and then the second thing is um the second issue is that you are limiting the number of men that are going to have access to women by having a bunch of guys have like harems, basically. You
Well,
know,
this is why they had this is in Israel. This is why they had the Leviticus 18 and 20 incest laws, is because they were expecting the Messiah to come through Israel, and they wanted the gene pool to be clean. So they had all these incest laws to make sure that didn't happen, so the gene pool would be good.
right?
And so a lot of people don't realize that's why they had all those incest laws and stuff like that in Leviticus 18 and 20, was because of Jesus. They wanted
Mm-hmm.
Jesus to be of a perfect lineage. And just like Noah, if you read in Genesis 6, it says Noah was perfect in his generations or his DNA. He had no Nephilim DNA or offspring that was corrupted by the giants, which are the offspring of the angels. Of course, a lot of Christians don't know a lot about that, but I mean, I think it's becoming more popular. A lot of people understand that now more. A lot of people just thought it was like, Seth's children or something. But I think it was actually angels, you know. So that's my thoughts. But
Yeah. So some of those
that's so
seven
the whole
footers in the
point of the
NBA.
flood. The whole point of the flood was not because people were evil, but that was part of it. But it was mainly because these angels corrupted our genetics, and it was like all mixed up, like my voice. Angels and humans being mixed up together, and this is where you get all these mythological creatures like the Minotaur, where these angels would do something with an animal, and then you'd have this weird bull thing or something. So they had like all these myths you hear about in the ancient past were actually creatures that were created by these fallen angels, like mating with animals and stuff as well, and had all these monsters and stuff. They called them Yemim or monsters. And then you would have like half bull, half human, half horse human. You've seen all these Greek mythology. They have a lot of this stuff. And you got trolls and you got, leprechauns and all this weird stuff as well, which of course people think
Mm.
it's all fairy tales, but I think there is some element of truth to a lot of this, that there were actually giants. There were actually beings that were messed up. And there's like even a story. Have you heard about the one that was in Afghanistan, where these soldiers went into a cave and there was like this giant? He had red hair and he was like 10 foot tall, and he took a spear and put it right through the guy while they're using machine guns. There was like four guys using machine guns, and they didn't. It took a while to kill him because he was so huge.
Mm.
I don't know if you ever heard that story. It's from
I
like
mean, I've heard of
2001.
similar stories. Well, I was going to ask you about dragons.
Oh yeah,
Do
that's
you
another
think
one
that?
too.
Yeah. Give us a quick, give us some quick stuff on dragons.
Well, I mean, yeah, I believe they exist. I've done videos talking about this, that I believe dragons did exist. And you had water dragons and you had ones that could fly. You also had ones that looked like snakes. And I think a lot of these stories, like the Chinese dragon, it looks like a snake, is because there were some that had no legs and no wings. You can look at these historical sources that talk about this. They're pretty ancient, but they talk about there's different kinds of dragons. Some had legs, some had wings, some had neither, and they look literally like a snake. The only difference was their head looked different. Um, so I do believe
Now, how
that
about like
these were
fire
actually
breathing?
dinosaurs. I
Now,
think well, you do have certain creatures that actually do shoot out like an acid type of thing and stuff in nature right
right,
now, and
right.
it could be like a combination of two elements put together, and it shoots out and becomes fire. I don't know, because just like these lizards that can shoot out like an acid type of thing, it's
Hmm.
because two things unite. It's like separated in their head, and then when they shoot it out, it shoots out and it combines and it becomes acidic or whatever. So it could be something like that with these dragons, where they had two things combined and it became flammable. I don't
Hmm.
know. It's hard to say, but um, I think the dragons were the dinosaurs. I think you see all these stories. Alexander the Great, Marco Polo, they all wrote historical texts. Like Alexander the Great was not writing fictional books; he was writing logs of his journeys as going through different countries. And he said that he saw a certain king in a province of India using dragons to pull his chariot. So you got all these stories from like historical people. So like when we get our history, our ancient history, like from Herodotus or Pliny the Younger or whatever, the historians today pick and choose what they want. So like when they start talking about dragons, they ignore it and just say that's myth. But then when they talk about other stuff, they say it's fact. So why would you take one part and not the other? If they're really historians, wouldn't you take all of it? or take none of it. If you don't believe they're telling the truth, why would you take any of it? So, like, you see what I mean? Like these
Mm,
historians today will look at these ancient historians that talk about dragons and stuff and just say they're crazy or loony because we don't see them today. They just assume they're crazy or they're just making something up. But I mean, in the case of Alexander the Great, he has no reason to make it up. He's just talking about his journeys. Like, why would he make it up, right? China was supposedly full of dragons. Like the whole area was completely full of dragons. Is one of the places that has tons. Romania was one of them as well. So yeah, there's a lot of stories in this realm, and there's a lot of historical documents you can look at about it. But like I said, again, like if you look at the Spanish conquistadors, they wrote in the 1600s, so they went to South America where the Mayans and Incas were, and they would talk about giants. They would find skulls. They said they could put their sword through the eye socket all the way to the back, and their hand would be into the eye socket. So obviously, that's a pretty big skull if you got a sword, right? I don't know how if they had a short or long sword, but even if it's a short sword, that's a huge head. You know, that's a big
right.
head. So they had all these stories about giants in all these historical documents from the conquistadors. There's like several books, and they're like 15, 1600s. But again, historians today just completely ignore those stories. And the Vatican allegedly had them destroy a lot of them. So whenever the
Mm,
Vatican would actually have them destroy these skeletons, it even says it in the historical books. So that's probably why you don't have any around, is because the Vatican would literally go around destroying them all. And of course, then you have other stories about the Smithsonian going around and gathering up bones as well. And then they're gone now. If you call them Smithsonian, they don't have them. But they would gather them back in like in even America, they would have mounds in America, Ohio, Indiana, Michigan. Back in like the 1900s, they would find these mounds. They would have 9 foot, 8 foot, 9 foot tall people. All of them are 9 foot. Not like it's not like one person was 9 foot, the other ones are 5 foot or something. They're like all 8 or 9 foot tall, and the Smithsonian or some group would come along, get these bones, and then you wouldn't see them again. So this is why you have very little evidence for this stuff, is because they would get the bones and destroy them or do something about it. And assuming the devil was running things, that would be what you would want to do if you want to make everyone believe it didn't exist, obviously. So, I mean, you know, it makes sense. If you want to change history, you got to delete history. You got to burn things and destroy things, right? So,
yeah. Mm.
but that's that. You're so we've been going for a while though. This is like, what is it, like hour and a half already?
Yeah, yeah,
Oh yeah,
yeah. No, this is good. This is about
yeah.
where we wanted to be. So, um, yeah, folks, uh, like the video on the way out, comment, share, subscribe. We got 105 live viewers. We've been over 100 for the last 20 minutes or something. So yeah, we're growing. Please tell other folks about the show. And all of that good stuff. Become a channel member where you'll get access to all archive videos. Head over to Tony's channel and make sure you're subbed there to his three channels. They're all actually they're all tagged in the description. Not in the description. They're actually tagged in the. I
Title,
think they're
right?
yeah.
No
They're supposed to
subtitle.
be titled. I had them in the title. Well, they're not in the title. For some reason, they're not in the
Just go
title
to God
anymore.
Rules. Just go to God Rules or Sale.anyone, and you'll find my
Yeah,
videos.
just
Or
go
God
to
Rules
those.
too.
But here,
Yeah.
let me fix this. This is weird.
Oh, you
I
don't
had.
have to fix it, man. It's okay. We're
Oh
good.
well, it's actually better if I make sure that these are on here. Okay, there we go. It's been fixed. I don't know what happened. I think NWO is trying to get us. Um, and anyhow, uh, that's our time, and
Hulk
we'll see
Hogan.
y'all next time. Be well.
Yeah. See you guys.
Peace.